Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe from the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 in Waterford every day on the Media Network of Waterford, and live to tape on Channel 10 in Orion Township in Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television, or as the cool kids call it there, ONTV. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District with 24/7 operations out of the Pete Bowers studios at Bloomfield Hills High School. Find us online on our Facebook pages at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com, and on My Michigan TV or MyMy at mymytv.com, live to tape for the next couple of days, where you can also learn more about downloading their free MyMyTV apps for your smartphones and smart TVs, and keep up to date on everything that they're doing today and on Thursday of this week at the Mackinac Policy Conference. Press conferences and live coverage periodically all throughout the mornings and afternoons. Plenty of press conferences, including today, the little teaser for what's coming up later. We'll join in progress, or we plan on joining in progress, a press conference at the bottom of the hour with Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, who will be speaking at the Mackinac Policy Conference live on MyTV. You can also view that live and find all that programming on demand later on their website, mymytv.com. All that information is on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. We can also find all of our programs on demand and find each individual interview as well. Then let's head over to our news page at civiccentertv.com/local-news, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division to keep you up to date on everything you need to know about the COVID-19, including the spread of the virus in your community, precautionary tactics that you may or may not need to employ at any given time, as well as more information on where you can get vaccinated or receive your booster shot or booster shots should you be eligible and be in need of one. Also on our news page, we feature articles from many journalistic outlets all across the state of Michigan to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines all throughout the Great Lakes state. Our top story today is from the Detroit News' Kim Kozlowski. Michigan University has fired hundreds of employees over vaccine mandates. Hundreds of employees were fired and thousands of students suspended or had holds placed on their academic accounts for violating vaccine and testing mandates at some of Michigan's largest universities during the last year. My alma mater, Michigan State University, alone fired more than 500 employees, the majority being temporary workers, but 28 were permanent staff, said spokesperson Daniel Olson from MSU. The University of Michigan fired 12 employees, 8 of whom were temporary workers, said a spokesperson earlier this week. And between the two schools, more than 2,750 students were either suspended or had academic holds placed on their accounts, meaning that they couldn't enroll in any additional classes. The data also shows how divisive mandates were for vaccines and testing, and they continued to be more than a year and a half after the state's 15 public universities issued mandates as they sought to return to in-person classes last fall. Quote, "The COVID directive we set was to best protect our campus community and the greater Lansing community and other communities that we serve," said Olson from Michigan State. They are changing tactics, and they have been changing tactics all throughout this past year and a half or so since these mandates went in place. Governor Whitmer lifted the state's remaining COVID restrictions that included mask mandates and limits on indoor gatherings on June 22nd of last year, 15 months into the pandemic, that resulted in shutdowns of some businesses and stay-at-home orders for residents across the state. Albion College was the first school in Michigan to issue a campus-wide vaccine mandate. Others, including Wayne State and Oakland universities, in the following weeks issued a limited vaccine mandate that applied to students only living on campus. But by the last Friday in July, the highly contagious Delta variant was driving up case counts all across the U.S., and MSU and U of M students, faculty, and staff would have to be vaccinated against COVID-19 so classes could resume while laying out masking and testing mandates. Wayne State, Grand Valley State, and Oakland universities would follow suit soon after with vaccine mandates of their own. By mid-September, as classes were underway, cases had been rising for 10 consecutive weeks, evidence of a third surge in Michigan, further fueled by the Omicron variant that saw record numbers of cases and hospitalizations by mid-January. Each university set deadlines and spelled out penalties for failing to get vaccinated or tested, and said that they would work with students and staff in order to make sure they can all comply. The fallout was not immediate among those who did not comply. Officials said those who were not in compliance were made aware of what was expected and given warnings, and penalties also evolved over time. Michigan State suspended 88 students during the fall semester for failing to get vaccinated, according to their spokesperson Olson, before changing tactics. The university began putting academic holds on students' accounts during the spring semester for students who were not vaccinated, which meant they couldn't enroll in additional classes in future semesters until they became compliant with the university's policy. As of April 27 of this year, the end of MSU's spring semester, 1,819 enrolled students had holds on their accounts for vaccine non-compliance, according to the university's spokesperson, Olson. U of M had 850 academic holds on the accounts of students who failed to get vaccinated, meaning they couldn't add or drop classes, enroll in the next semester, or even receive their transcripts, according to a spokesperson. Wayne State fired 7 employees for failing to comply, but no students faced repercussions, according to Wayne State spokesperson Ted Montgomery. Grand Valley State on the west side of the state dismissed 5 permanent employees due to noncompliance with its mandate, and 105 students have active holds on their accounts, precluding registration, said university spokeswoman Michelle Kofel. Oakland University was the first public university to announce it would require the vaccine for those living in dorms in spring of 2021. But it expanded the policy to include all students, faculty, and staff before the fall semester of this past year began. OU did not fire any employees because they refused to get vaccinated, according to spokesperson Brian Beerley. Quote, likewise, none of our students who lived on campus were suspended because of failure to get vaccinated, and close quote, Beerley added. However, there were fewer than 100 students with a disciplinary hold, preventing them from registering for the next semester. Beerley said that students can either get vaccinated, get an exemption, or take classes online in the fall to continue their education. Lastly, making headlines on our website at civiccentertv.com/local-news is from Bridge, Michigan's Carly Graham. The University of Michigan gun violence researchers are hoping to curb shooting deaths through advanced research. On May 24th, an 18-year-old gunman shot and killed 21 people at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. Just a week and a half earlier, a gunman killed 10 at a grocery store located in a primarily black neighborhood in Buffalo, New York. As of May 25 of this year, less than halfway through the year, the United States had 213 mass shootings, and yet for every person who died in the U.S. mass shooting in 2020, about another 86 died from other forms of gun violence. The University of Michigan's Institute for Firearm Injury Prevention is working to find solutions to stop shootings before they happen. Quote, "It's horrific that these things keep happening, but I'm glad we're doing the work that we are," the Institute's managing director, Jessica Roche, had said. The Ann Arbor Center is one of only a handful of institutes in the entire country researching gun violence. A 2019 study found that an average of $12 million annually was spent on firearm injury prevention research in the U.S. between 2008 and 2017. In the same period, an average of $88 million was spent annually on motor vehicle crash research and $335 million on research into cancer treatment. At the time, motor vehicle crashes were the most common cause of death for people under 18 years old. Gun deaths were second, and cancer was third. In 2020, gun deaths surpassed motor vehicle deaths in those rankings. The lack of gun violence research can be traced to 1996 with the passage of federal legislation barring federal funding for efforts that advocated for gun control. After the legislation, gun violence research dried up. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention stopped conducting research in firearm-related injury altogether as well. Following the 2018 shooting that left 14 students dead at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, then President Donald Trump added a clarification to the amendment stating it does not ban research. A good move. Much of the university's published work is related to addressing gaps in research as well as plans for how to go forward. For example, in a 2021 study published in the Journal of Clinical Child and Adolescent Psychology, the Institute's researchers compiled data and studies to summarize, quote, key factors related to the onset, persistence, and consequences of firearm carriage and violence, end closed quote. Mass shootings are only a part of the research at the Institute. In 2020, the CDC reported 45,222 deaths related to firearm injury, though that is the highest numbers ever. The University of Michigan Institute found that there was a steady increase in the rise in gun deaths between 2014 and 2019, but the jump from 19 to 20 was drastic. A recent study done by the Institute and published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that in 2020, gun deaths jumped above motor vehicle incidents as the top cause of death for people between 1 and 19 years old. Researchers haven't pinpointed why gun deaths among young people have increased. When it comes to prevention solutions, the Institute follows a similar strategy to the methods used to minimize motor vehicle injuries and deaths. The website quotes Rebecca Cunningham, a University of Michigan vice president for research, as saying, quote, the focus is not on gun control, but rather on injury prevention. We did not have automobile deaths by taking cars off the road, but rather by making them and their drivers safer, end closed quote. The Institute works in rural and urban communities to limit gun and deaths and injuries by implementing personalized solutions that stop events before they happen. The Institute has partnered with health centers in Detroit, Flint, Saginaw, and Muskegon to develop violence prevention plans. Roche said because people in rural communities are at a higher risk of firearm-related suicide, the Institute is working with the Marquette County Health Department and other community groups to talk about how to safely store guns, for example. By working with different community groups, the Institute can take into account how to best implement solutions based on their needs. Quote, in the research world, there's always been this big gap between research and practice, said Roche. But at the Institute, we're not doing research for research's sake. We're doing actionable research that has effects and can help communities deal with firearm injuries, end closed quote. The Institute focuses on 6 areas of research, one of which includes school and mass shootings, but because the majority of injuries and deaths caused by firearms are between individuals, prevention efforts in that area have been a greater focus. According to the Pew Research Center in 2020, suicide accounted for 24,292 gun deaths, homicide for 19,384, accidental injuries accounted for 535, and 611 were because of police intervention. 400 of those gun-related injuries had undetermined circumstances. In 2020, a total of 513 people died in mass shootings, according to the Gun Violence Archive. Mass shootings are defined as shootings where 4 or more people, excluding the shooter, are shot. Mass and school shootings are a component and aspect of this larger public health problem of firearm injuries. They certainly represent often the most visible part to the general public, said co-director of the Institute, Patrick Carter. Carter said the most common injury forms are related to suicide and unintentional injury, but quote-unquote horrific school and mass shootings often garner more public interest and public attention. Quote, we've seen an increase in active shooter events and incidents over the past decade, both an increase in the number as well as the severity of those incidents, so a larger number of casualties per incident has occurred. We don't have clear data that tells us what's driving that trend, but that trend does exist. All those headlines are on our website, civiccentertv.com/local-news, as well as those helpful links to accurate information on COVID-19 from reliable resources at the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead on this Wednesday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Coming up, we'll be speaking with Brandon Pomish from the Southeast Michigan Crohn's and Colitis Foundation's Take Steps program. That's up next on the Oakland County Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there's a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
Can I ask you a question?
Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there's a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com's Megacast page, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now is Brandon Pomish, the chairperson of the Southeast Michigan Crohn's and Colitis Foundation's Take Steps program. Brandon, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Tyler, for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, can you just give us a little bit of information and background on the Southeast Michigan Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, the work that it does, and of course the Take Steps program?
Yeah, certainly. So the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, it's a national organization in most states. It's a phenomenal organization that connects patients with providers, helps fund cures and trials, and does just a fantastic job at supporting patient care with those who are infected with IBD.
And so for those that aren't familiar, what is Crohn's
Sure.
or colitis, and how does that affect somebody?
Sure. So Crohn's and colitis, they're related and they're not related. So I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to pretend to be one, but I am a patient, so I know what I know. So your GI tract starts basically in your mouth, and it goes all the way to the other end. And it is inflammation inside of your GI tract. So it's an autoimmune disease, and basically your body thinks that it's fighting off something and starts to, how do I put it, send proteins that, kind of think of it as like an engine in neutral, and you're pressing down on the pedal. It's basically what your body thinks is going on inside of your GI tract. So it inflames the GI tract and causes all sorts of conditions and problems that people have to deal with. It's a very, we call it a silent disease because it's not visible, and it can infect anybody.
And so often we hear about those getting diagnosed with Crohn's or colitis, getting diagnosed later on in their life or in their middle ages. For you, you were diagnosed, according to my notes from our producer, at a younger age, but in early adulthood. Can you tell us about your experience going through the diagnosis and what sort of treatment you undergo in order to live your life as comfortably as possible with this condition?
Sure. Yeah. So never had any issues growing up. I ate what I wanted. I drank what I wanted. I put into my body whatever, I felt was appropriate at the time. Never really thought about how it would affect my body. And in 2014, I developed an abscess in the perianal region. And the abscess was about the size of a quarter. And an abscess is basically a collection of fluid. And think of it as a pimple, but a quarter size big. And the buildup of fluid got to the point where I could barely walk. So I went and I saw a urologist because it was near that region. Urologist sent me to a colorectal surgeon, and the colorectal surgeon diagnosed me with having an abscess and immediately went in for surgery to cut the abscess. And from the abscess formed what's called a fistula. And a fistula is a connection from one organ to another. So a lot of people get mouth fistulas or oral fistulas. This fistula was from the inside of my intestines out through the anal region. And uncomfortable as it may sound, it was that uncomfortable going in and having to surgically remove the abscess. And now, as a result of that, create this fistula. So it was caused by a disruption, inflammation inside of the GI tract. And I went through 20 surgeries from 2014 to 2017, including a diversion through my stomach, which included an ostomy bag that I had to wear for 2.5 years. Do you know what an ostomy bag is?
I don't know. Can you tell us what that is? I mean, you're
Sure.
wearing this for 2 years. That'd be something significant.
Yeah, 2.5. So an ostomy bag is I'll stop me if I get too graphic, but they basically, they open up your stomach, separate your intestines. They tie up the part that goes back inside of you. They take the other part that goes from your mouth to the other side that they separated, pull it outside of your stomach, flap it over, suture it on your stomach, and then they put a bag over it. So that's where I went number 2 for 2.5 years. So you have no control over your bowel movements. So I didn't go to the bathroom for 2.5 years. Wow. So whenever I ate, I had to be very careful what I ate, because if I ate something such as raw vegetables, it would cause havoc inside of this bag.
Wow.
So I had to be very cautious, and I had to change the bag every 2 or 3 days, because obviously it gets pretty gross inside of it. So, so I did that for 2.5 years, and after about the 2-year mark, 1.5 year mark, had been through 12, 13 surgeries at that point, and had gotten, fed up with it. There was no answers here. They couldn't, there was no medical procedure or medicine that was healing these fistulas now that had multiplied underneath my scrotal area. And my wounds were so bad, I couldn't walk. I had just been cut up for, 8 months. So I was informed about some technology that was being introduced around the world, and did a little bit of research and found a study being done in Madrid, Spain, that included the injection of stem cells. And I found the one doctor on Twitter, got their email, started emailing these folks back and forth. At this point, I was going to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, and one of the co-surgeons had done their fellowship there. So it kind of created a connection and enabled me to go. So I got in touch with these folks in Spain, and scheduled to go out there and be a part of what they were doing. So I went out there, and the stem cell procedure at the time, what it was is they perform liposuction on you. So they extract fat tissue, take the fat tissue, mix it up, out comes some stem cells, and they inject you with the stem cells. So I went there the first time and got injected, and about 4 or 5 months later, went to Mayo Clinic, got an MRI, and it had healed one of the fistulas. So I went back about 6 months after that. So they had cultured, when I first got the liposuction, they had cultured about 3 to 4 million stem cells. When I went back about 6, 7 months later, they had cultured about 50 million. So I went back. They didn't have to do the liposuction again, thank goodness. But I had to do is go in, get injected, came back, and a few months later, completely healed. And that enabled me to have the ostomy bag removed, and they hooked the plumbing back up so that I could, live a normal life.
So at this time, and again, we're joined by Brendan Pomish from the Southeast Michigan Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. He is the chairperson of their Take Steps program also. And so at this time in your treatment, where does it stand? Are you still having symptoms? Are you feeling somewhat better? Are you able to better live with your Crohn's at this moment in time than you have in the past? What's your status right now?
Yeah, life is great. It's a blessing. So I'm still on. I do get infusions. I get biologicals infused in me every 8 weeks. That controls the inflammation. It's a common part of step therapy in Crohn's and colitis. If steroids don't work, there's a couple other treatments. They move you to these biological infusions that basically remove the protein that thinks there's something there from actually going and attacking it. So it helps stop the inflammation. So, definitely careful with my diet, definitely aware of what I eat and what I drink and what I put in my body. I know I'll have a certain reaction if I eat certain foods. So I really have to look at my calendar and look at my day, and, depending where I'm at, those well done, good looking French fries may not be the right thing for me at that time. So, but other than that, I'm active, live a normal life. And, now my mission is, to help those, suffering from this disease, to go and try to get help. I've actually helped about 30 people get access, by sharing my story, get access to these doctors in Spain who have also had successful treatments as well.
And so for those that may feel some stigma or some sense of embarrassment about their symptoms or even their diagnosis of Crohn's or colitis and may not be, or may be a little apprehensive to some treatments, what do you have to say to these people about overcoming that embarrassment or stigma and getting treatment, and how life-changing that can be if it's available to them?
Yeah, the disease is horribly embarrassing. You know, I couldn't imagine being an infant or, you know, a toddler or a middle school or high school student going through what I went through and having the peer challenges that would introduce. I can't even fathom it. And part of my motivation for getting involved was to help the pediatric side, because, you know, I just, you know, while I was going through what I was going through, I joined some Facebook groups for, you know, patients with Crohn's and colitis and fistulas. And I was connected to a lot of people, and a lot of the people had children who were going through what I went through. And, you know, it helped put my life in perspective, you know, that, you know, I just couldn't imagine being, you know, a child dealing with this. So, you know, part of what I do is outreach through the program and just on my own, to have people reach out, male, female, to talk about the uncomfortable, you know, discussions that one has to have about their bowels. It's not a comfortable thing to talk about. You know, you know, we joke, we have, you know, there's lots of poop jokes and lots of jokes about it. And, you know, some of the levity helps. But, you know, the best thing people could do is, if they're suffering, is, you know, to reach out to the program and just say, I need help. And we'll make sure that, you know, somebody is connected that can help guide them to a comfortable support system, because everybody going through this needs it, because it's so uncomfortable to talk about.
We're joined by Brandon Pomish from Southeast Michigan's Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, joining us on the Megacast. You're also the chair of their Take Steps event, which is happening Saturday, June 11th from 10 to 11:30 at the Southfield Civic Center complex located on 26,000 Evergreen Road. Can you tell us about this event, how people can participate, and where the proceeds from this event go to help those with Crohn's and colitis?
Sure, yeah. So I had participated in the event years past, and you know, obviously COVID put a you know, didn't help, you know, the cause the last couple of years, because everybody was home or in hiding and didn't want to congregate. You know, this year we believe that we can get back at it, and you know, in years past we've had up to 2,000 people at these events. And supported the Crohn's and colitis through this amazing walk. And it's extremely diverse. People from all types of backgrounds come because the disease affects everybody, no matter your gender or ethnicity. So the walk, it happens in every chapter throughout the country. Our chapter here, like you said, is happening at the Southfield Civic Center. So we created a little different theme this year, where we're calling it IBD World. And the IBD world is in the shape of a colon. And throughout the shape of the colon, we're going to have different services and different attributes to Crohn's and colitis, such as doctors, nurses, psychologists, nutritionists, different patients and their groups, infusion clinics, all sorts of different resources. We want to, you know, this event is not as exclusive as some of the other chapter events. This event is more grassroots, open to everybody. You know, you don't need to contribute to come. So we want to provide as many resources to the IBD community as possible. And that was the mission this year. And as a bonus, since this happens, during the warmer months, we have air-conditioned toilets coming to the walk this year, which many participants and patients appreciate the ability to go to a nice conditioned luxury toilet room. So the Facebook link, I don't know if you were provided with that, but that the Facebook page, this for the next 2 weeks on Facebook, if you start a Facebook fundraiser and raise $100, you get a $25 Amazon gift card. And if you raise $100, you also get a Take Steps t-shirt and pennant. So a little bit of incentive to help. And the money, I've been involved in lots of nonprofits. I've never seen an organization utilize dollars the way that these folks utilize money. It's all patient-centric. They want to find a cure. They want to help, with the medical advancements, and it's quite an organization. So the dollars are very well utilized.
Brendan, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Tyler.
More information can be found on the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation at crohnscolitisfoundation.org. That's crohnscolitisfoundation.org for more information. Well, all throughout this today and tomorrow, My Michigan TV, one of our many stations on the Megacast network, will be providing live footage from the Mackinac Policy Conference in, of course, Mackinac City, happening all throughout the day today and Thursday on My Michigan TV. For more information, you can go to their website at mymytv.com. That's mymytv.com, where currently Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson is holding a press conference. Actually, she just had American soccer legend Mia Hamm at the lectern speaking, and this press conference continues live right now on My Michigan TV. We will join it live in progress on the Megacast now up and through the beginning of the 11 o'clock hour. Let's join this in progress, and again, coverage from the Mackinac Policy Conference put on by the Detroit Regional Chamber all throughout the day. Press conferences all throughout the day today and on Thursday of this week on My Michigan TV and on the My Michigan TV app, which you can get for free on your phone and on smartphone and on your smart TV. More information and to watch live, mymytv.com. Let's join the Secretary of State's press conference already in progress.
Thank you both for being here, and really thank you all for putting in the work over the last several years. I'm really proud of the research and the data-driven solutions that we'll be recommending. I think it all just gets down to we can be doing more, and we should do more, and that doing more will require a lot of teamwork. It's not just what the government can do, it's what all of us can do together to create opportunities for everyone to succeed and lead in our great state. So with that, happy to take a few questions, and thank you all again for being here. All right, seeing no questions, we'll take it. I'll also just mention we'll be again on June 22nd having a larger program with the full release of the report, so stay tuned for that. We've got the executive summary available for everyone here today. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So that was Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson live at the Mackinac Policy Conference, live from the Grand Hotel in Mackinac City, put on, of course, by the Detroit Regional Chamber. My Michigan TV will have live coverage of more pressers all throughout the day today and tomorrow on My Michigan TV. That's mymytv.com for more information. mymytv.com for more information to watch all these press conferences live. That press conference began at about 10:35, 10:40, and it didn't last very long, obviously. We went over there right as they were getting to the Secretary of State's favorite part of those press conferences, which is wrapping them. All politicians love the wrap-up. It's their favorite part of all those press conferences. But there's going to be plenty of more coverage all throughout the day on My Michigan TV as I pull up my notes for this press conference. Great coverage all throughout the day today. Governor Whitmer and Secretary of Transportation, U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg will be featured at 3 o'clock to 3:30 on the East Central porch. That will also be aired live on My Michigan TV. So you'll be able to see the governor, you'll be able to see the U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. Tomorrow, there will be another press conference, 9:30 to 10 a.m., and then the second one at from 3 to 3:30. And there will be additional live footage potentially also throughout the day, live from Mackinac on My Michigan TV. And there's so many different ways that you can watch My Michigan TV and continue on with this coverage. Of course, you can go to their website, mymytv.com. That has all the information you need. You can also watch these press conferences on demand. That's what I'm going to do with the Secretary of State later on today. I only got to see the last 30 seconds. I wanted to see what Mia Hamm had to say. She's been up there and, of course, has been in some social media posts as well with Governor Whitmer. So I'll go back and watch that on demand at some point later on today on My Michigan TV's website, mymytv.com. But hey, maybe you're busy. You can't get to a computer until late at night, and by then you'll forget about it. You want to watch it right now, or you want to watch it as soon as you can when you're out and about, on the bus, when you're waiting in the waiting room, when you're waiting to pick your kids up at school. You can do that on My Michigan TV's free smartphone app, or at home on your smart TV app. Both of those can be found on a number of different app stores, including the Apple App Store, on the Google Play Store, on Amazon and Fire TV, and on Roku, and so many other places. All that information also is on our website on mymytv.com. And you can also just go to your app store and search My Michigan TV, and you'll find the MyTV app. You can download for free. You can download it for free. You can watch our programming for free, live and on demand. There's so much you can do with these free apps by going to the My Michigan TV website, mymytv.com. While we're talking about My Michigan TV's resources, let's go back through all of our resources here at the Megacast. On our website at civiccentertv.com, the flagship station for the Oakland County and Michigan Megacasts, you can find information on all of our partnering stations, including My Michigan TV, but also stations all throughout the Oakland County area, and including stations such as City Cable 15 of Southfield. Of course, we just talked with Brandon Pomish from the Southeast Michigan Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Their event, Take Steps, is happening in Southfield on the Civic Center campus in Southfield on Saturday, June 11th. And so we just happen to be broadcasting on City Cable 15 live every day, 10 o'clock to noon, for both the Oakland County and Michigan Megacasts. So you can learn more about City Cable 15 and all their other original programming by visiting their website. Just go to our website at civiccentertv.com, click on our Megacast link, and click on the link to City Cable 15 of Southfield. On our website at civiccentertv.com/Megacast, you can also find all of our full shows and each individual interview on demand as well. If you tuned in at the end of our interview with Brandon Pomish from Southeast Michigan Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, you want to learn more about the foundation, learn more about Crohn's disease, learn more about the Take Steps walk and how you can participate, but you just tune in at the very end of that interview by sometime mid to late afternoon, we'll have our full episode, including a chapter in that full episode for this interview, posted on our website at civiccentertv.com. Just go to our Megacast link and click on Watch Full Episodes or Watch individual interviews. You can find all that information there. And then we also have more information on COVID-19. Of course, this program was built out of the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic by going to our local news page at civiccentertv.com/local-news, or click on local news at the top of the Civic Center TV website, where you'll find information immediately at the top of that page with links to the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division's COVID-19 specific web pages, updated daily with extensive amounts of information and research on COVID-19 and how it's affecting your community and what steps you can take to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and, of course, prevent yourself from being positive with COVID-19 as well. And then on that page, you'll also find some of our top articles making headlines every single day all across the state of Michigan. We're going to take a break on the Megacast, and when we come back, we'll kick off the Michigan Megacast Hour with Lucy Hale from the Michigan Science Center. You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Them and the rest of our network will return with the Michigan Megacast in just a few.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners, working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there's a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Achoo!
Welcome to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on a Megacast link, where you'll find additional hyperlinks to every single one of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets that join us every single day, as well as find our full shows and individual interviews dating all the way back to March of 2020 on demand, so you can watch on your time if you're not able to join us for the full 2-hour marathon daily that is the Oakland County Megacast from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and the Michigan Megacast now 11 o'clock until 12 noon. Joining us now is Lucy Hale from the Michigan Science Center, as they have a slew of exciting programs for the summer, including some special programming they've imported from across the country. Lucy, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Tyler. It's a pleasure to be here.
Appreciate having you on. So a lot of interesting events always going on and exhibits always going on over at the Michigan Science Center. Right now, the one that is coming up or going on is Popnology. Can you tell us about Popnology?
Yeah, so Popnology is a special exhibit. It is with us through August 11th, and it opens, our grand opening is May 25th, although we have a soft opening for our members today and tomorrow, and then for the general public on Sunday to help us test it out. And it's all about the intersection of science, technology, Hollywood, and science fiction. So it is about how our pop culture inspires technology and how technology inspires pop culture. It is so much fun. It's very hands-on. It's very engaging. And best of all, it's free with admission.
So what was the inspiration behind bringing Popnology to the Michigan Science Center?
Well, we really wanted to have, you know, we've had such a rough couple of years between the pandemic and being closed last summer. And so we really just wanted to have something fun and to celebrate being reopened and having all systems go and to welcome the public back to our museum and to downtown Detroit. And so we had the last minute opportunity to take this exhibit in. It was really a huge effort of the team to get it in from 3 weeks to signing contract to arriving, which is not normal. But it's been amazing. It's been an amazing experience for us all to have it here. And we really just wanted something to encourage families to come on down and get excited about science. You know, our mission is to put people at the center of science, and this exhibit totally does that.
So, Lucy, you mentioned multiple times bringing in Popnology. So it is an outside exhibit that travels across the country, and it's being brought into the Michigan Science Center. So who makes Popnology, and how did the Michigan Science Center end up getting in contact with these individuals?
Oh, that's a great question. So it's a company called Stage 9 that has developed this exhibit, and another company called EDG travels it throughout the country. So it has been at other museums, you know, throughout the continent since its inception. And so folks might have seen it in other cities. They might have seen it in Michigan a few years ago. It was in a different part of the state. But it's pretty typical for our museum business to bring exhibits like this in. And we have wonderful exhibit partners that we work with who are always developing really exciting things for us to bring to our audiences, to get folks excited about what it is that we do as a science museum and a hands-on science center. And so this is a company that we've worked with in the past. They're wonderful to work with. We know they develop high quality exhibits. And so even though it was a short timeline, it was a no-brainer for us to take it.
We're joined by Lucy Hale, the Chief Business Officer at the Michigan Science Center, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information can be found on their website, mi-sci.org. That's mi-sci.org for more information on the Michigan Science Center and events such as Popnology, which will also be great for photo opportunities for families, especially for those kids that are big fans of some of these different pop culture icons in movies and in TV shows and science fiction, and would like to get a picture with some of their favorite characters. Can you tell us about some of the opportunities that will be there for great photos and making great memories?
Yeah, well, I hope you can see the DeLorean over my shoulder. And so we do have a replica of the Time Machine DeLorean from Back to the Future, and that's a great photo op. Alien is in the exhibit. We've got some cool characters, some cool droids from Star Wars that are in the exhibit, Terminator, and a really neat Mars experience that has some cool backdrops. And then there's also a photo booth, so folks can take pictures in the photo booth it's got a gray screen behind it, not a green screen, but a gray screen, and you can send those to yourself. You can put them on your social media. It is a very fun exhibit, lots of photo opportunities. And you mentioned these sort of icons of movies. You know, we're really hoping the movies that are featured in the exhibit are, you know, really of our parents, the folks who are parents right now. And so we're hoping that it sparks some conversations and memories sort of with multi-generations, and really hope that we get kids inspired about technology and careers in technology, which was a really big reason why our sponsor, Signal Restoration, came in, because they're scientists and engineers, and they want the next generation to be inspired to work in those careers too. So it's fun and it's hands-on, but it is also some great technology that folks will get experience with.
We're joined by Lucy Hale, the Chief Business Officer at the Michigan Science Center, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Lucy, how long will Popnology be at the Michigan Science Center, and how can people get access to this exhibit?
Yeah, it'll be here through August 11th, and folks can go onto our website, www.mi-sci.org, and reserve tickets. Like I said, it is free with general admission, so you just need to get your general admission tickets. You can walk up to, we don't require advanced reservations, but we do recommend them. We expect it will be very busy this summer, and so we want to make sure folks are able to come in. We do have capacity limits on our building still, not so much because of the pandemic, but just because of our fire code. And so we want folks to make sure that they are getting their tickets in advance if they're able to.
We're joined by Lucy Hale, the Chief Business Officer of the Michigan Science Center, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Again, more information on Popnology and other events and exhibits at the Michigan Science Center can be found on their website, mi-sci.org. That's mi-sci.org for more information on the Michigan Science Center. And so, Popnology, not the only great event and exhibit happening at the Michigan Science Center coming up. You also have a big robot exhibit that's planned. Can you talk to us about what robot fans or robotics fans can expect at the Michigan Science Center very soon?
Oh, sure. So the robot components are actually part of Popnology. So there are quite a few robots featured in the exhibit and experiences where people can learn how robots work and also about artificial intelligence. And so there's 5 different stations where people will get to activate robots and do a task with them and complete a game with them. And so that is very, very fun. We have a lot going on this summer. The other really exciting news is that our IMAX theater is reopening. And so that's the other really big thing we have on our minds and in our hearts. We're very excited about that.
We're joined by Lucy Hale, the Chief Business Officer at the Michigan Science Center, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. There's also a really exciting group of games that are also available at the Michigan Science Center. Can you tell us about some of the gaming experiences for people of all different ages at the Michigan Science Center at this time?
Yeah, so our whole museum is really hands-on, and so there are lots of great experiences throughout the halls where people can really activate learning through play, whether it's building paper airplanes or engaging with our Earth, Wind, and Weather exhibits. And then in Popnology itself, there are some video games. So we do have an Oculus Rift station, so people can participate in that component of gaming and that type of gaming technology using virtual reality. And then we also have a fun little Easter egg. I'm not going to tell you where it is in the exhibit, but if anybody's a Donkey Kong fan, we've sort of tucked some arcade games around one of the corners, and you can experience some historic arcade games in Popnology. And then there's 2 different Mars mission games that people can complete. One is a Mars launch, and one is an actual mission, using technology to complete a mission in a simulated Mars environment. And so we hope folks enjoy those games and really and learn a little bit about the real science and technology behind Mars exploration through them.
Another great exhibit you can go to at the Michigan Science Center and learn a lot about a technology we see so often in our society are one of these things, one of these cell phones. We have a history of cell phones. It's called Cell Phones Deconstructed, looking back into the year 1983 and investigating all the items that eventually led to smartphones over the years. Going all the way back to 1983, you're holding about 14 of these in your hand at one time. That's both in width and in depth. So tell us about that Cell Phones Deconstructed exhibit.
That's actually my favorite exhibit in the whole Popnology, which is funny because it's so hands-on, and there's so much you can do with gaming and robots like we were talking about. And this exhibit is very much a diorama, which is a little bit old school for a museum or for a science center, but I love it because, first of all, I did not know that smartphone technology was developed in 1983. I thought it was a much more modern technology. And it's an image, a diorama of the last day before smartphone technology was developed. And it's a snapshot of someone's house. And everything in the exhibit, with the exception of a few decor items, are things that we now use our phones for. So music, calendars, calculators, how we pay for things. And so it's a really interesting exhibit. It sparks lots of conversations. We had a family up there yesterday. One of the parents was just howling with laughter, thinking about everything that they used to use that they now just use their phones for, talking to their kids about it, explaining what some of these things were to their kids, a rotary phone, for example. So it's a really neat exhibit, and we hope it sparks lots of conversations and thought.
We're joined by Lucy Haley, Chief Business Officer of the Michigan Science Center, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on all these exhibits ongoing, including Popnology, the Big Robot exhibit, and the Cell Phones Deconstructed exhibit, and more at mi-sci.org. That's mi-sci.org for more information, or search the Michigan Science Center and look up more information on everything going on over there. And so there's a lot of other little mini exhibits and other activities also going on at the Michigan Science Center, and plenty of upcoming events for throughout the summer months to keep families engaged and kids learning while they're on their summer vacation from school. Can you give us a preview of some of these other upcoming events over at the Michigan Science Center coming up this summer?
Yeah, absolutely. So our IMAX reopens, our large dome theater, the IMAX reopens on June 15th for the general public. It opens June 11th and 12th for our members. And we have a big press event on June 9th for that. And we're very grateful to Magna Seating, who helped us redo our seats for that exhibit. So it is, or not exhibit, that theater. So it is an absolutely beautiful renovation that we've done. The seats, brand new carpet, and new painting and everything. It's a really, the IMAX is just looking phenomenal. And we're going to open that with two shows. One is a traditional IMAX show called Asteroid Hunters, which is about folks who look out for asteroids that may have a heavy impact on the Earth, and then a little bit about asteroid mining. And then we have a film called, or a laser show called Movie Madness. And so we are hearkening back to some of the films that are featured in Popnology and other very iconic films, and bringing that music into our IMAX through our laser show and laser experience. And it's a very family-friendly laser show, and so we'll be showing that during the day, so folks can come and enjoy that. And then we also are doing some events. Some of them are engaging with our partners. So Concert of Colors is happening again this summer in downtown Detroit and Midtown, and so we'll be part of that. We're very excited to partner with them again this year. And then we have some fun adult events that we're doing in the evenings, and so we haven't announced the date yet, but keep an eye out for a very fun 80s themed After Dark for 21 and up audiences that will be tied to some of the themes in Popnology, but really just celebrating the 80s in general, and all of our exhibits at the museum. And that date will be announced soon. And then again, we are a great place for families to come in the summer if they're looking for things to do to get their kids inspired about science. The ability to spend time together as a family, to come to our museum, is really important too. We are going to be bringing some food service back on site in June as well, so folks will be able to spend more time here at the museum. They won't have to leave to find lunch, which we're very excited about. And then we also are a wonderful place to spend when it's very hot outside too. You can definitely have a great time in our air-conditioned space. So that's really important too, we know, in the summer, especially with the humidity that we get here sometimes.
Lucy, before we let you go, anything else we haven't discussed today, or other things that are coming up at the Michigan Science Center that we should be aware of?
I don't think so. This was wonderful. Thanks for covering us and having us on today. We're really excited about this summer. It's going to be a great summer for all of us here in Detroit and at the Michigan Science Center.
Lucy, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. More information can be found on Popnology and all of their other programs this summer at the Michigan Science Center by visiting mi-sci.org. That's mi-sci.org to learn more from the Michigan Science Center. We'll take a break on the Megacast. When we come back, we will talk about preventing gun violence in the wake of so many mass shootings in the past several weeks, including one once again at an elementary school. Dr. Chris Smith from the Michigan Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence joins us next on the Michigan Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there's a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/ACP, or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, you'll find more information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now is the chairperson for the Michigan Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence, Dr. Chris Smith, joining us once again on the Michigan Megacast. Dr. Smith, thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Appreciate having you on, albeit not under great circumstances after the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas earlier on this week that took the lives of several children, as well as a teacher at the school and so many others injured in the massacre once again at an elementary school. And so I want to start by asking you where your thoughts have gone in the wake of that shooting, especially considering so many years ago in 2012, when there was the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. That was a point where so many thought, well, this has to be it. This has to be the thing that causes it, the spark that causes the change, that causes those conversations to really get serious. And 10 years later, it's not, and we have another incident that is similar in so many ways and different in so many ways, but equally as tragic and sad. So what are your thoughts, or what were your thoughts in the wake of the news from earlier this week, at the time that we're broadcasting this live and recording this, of the shooting in Uvalde, Texas?
Well, of course, my first thought was, as you mentioned, how eerily similar this was to the Connecticut shooting in Newtown in 2012. Almost exactly 10 years ago. The Newtown shooting was December 2012. But we're talking about, essentially a full decade and an easy repeat of the same thing. And of course, I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, as so many people are. You have this empathetic feeling about those families, about what those kids could have contributed to American society, what they could have achieved. Such a tragic waste. And of course, at the same time, because, in addition to being the board chairperson of the Michigan Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence, I'm a professor of criminal justice at MSU. So, I've been very involved in studying law and policy related to this issue for over 35 years. And my mind, of course, immediately goes as well to, what could we do? What should we have done to try to lessen the risk of these things occurring? And of course, one of the things that really jumps out in the past couple weeks is you have two 18-year-olds, if we bring in the Buffalo shooting, which is very fresh in mind, the Buffalo grocery store, you have two 18-year-olds who could easily purchase weapons of war when they are not legally permitted to purchase a beer. And that ought to spark some serious thought about whether, and I don't view it as whether, about the fact that weapons are too easily available in the United States, including without sort of safeguards and mechanisms to slow down the process for people who are intent on misusing them as quickly as they can acquire them.
So, Dr. Smith, those who call themselves Second Amendment advocates, those who are advocating for so-called gun rights, in the wake of these tragedies, are arguing for those that are calling for changes and are calling out these politicians in particular that are supporting expansion of Second Amendment rights or no further restrictions or safeguards, so to speak, put in place to prevent or attempt to prevent these kinds of tragedies from happening. They're imploring we shouldn't politicize this issue. But politics goes back to the root word of policy. Policies are put in place for the betterment of society, for the public health, for the safety and the welfare of the general public of the U.S., citizens, visitors, no matter who or whom is in U.S. territory. And so as someone that does study this issue and does study policy impacts on issues such as gun violence, what are some of the steps that can be taken from leaders, both statewide and certainly federally, in order to prevent tragedies like this, especially given the information that we do know over the past several weeks on many of these shooters, both in Uvalde, Texas, in Buffalo, New York, and beyond?
Well, sadly, of course, this has become an ideological issue for many people. And we need to look for ways to step back from ideology, both in having an understanding of the legal meaning of the Second Amendment. I've taught about the Second Amendment for over 35 years. I'm a lawyer and I have a PhD as a social scientist. And also think about the extent to which research might let us reduce these kinds of risks. But unfortunately, there are many people whose view of the Second Amendment is what they wish the Second Amendment would mean, not what the Supreme Court has said it means. As we stand here today, the legal meaning of the Second Amendment from the Supreme Court's decision in District of Columbia versus Heller in 2008 gives law-abiding adults the right to keep a handgun in their homes for self-protection. That is the Second Amendment right. Now, we all expect the Supreme Court's going to expand it to some opportunity to carry weapons. They're considering a case from New York right now. But there's never been a decision that says you have a right to purchase a military-style rifle. There you have a right to purchase a large-capacity magazine. There's some lower court judges doing those things, but not the Supreme Court. So this is really about the opportunity for legislators to make some decisions, as we do with other constitutional amendments, to find a balance between protecting the Second Amendment. It's part of the Constitution. I support the Second Amendment as it's defined, but also taking measures to protect people. And that really has to do with thinking about what are the weapons that are available to the public, what's the capacity of ammunition magazines, what are the ages, and, you know, for some purchases, not these, the gaps in the background check system. 22% of purchases are private purchases that don't go through background checks. And then we have some unreasonable restrictions in the background check system that say, if the bureaucratic process is too slow and takes more than 2 or 3 days, you automatically get the weapon, even if you wouldn't be qualified to purchase it. And we know in Michigan from the Oxford shooting that if we have safe storage laws, we may reduce the risk of adolescents getting a hold of unsecure firearms in their parents' home. Not to say that it prevents those things from happening, but it does create pressure on parents to secure their firearms. And many states have done these things, but Michigan simply is a place that probably is sort of in the middle of the 50 states with respect to laws that think about gun safety. We're not wide open like some states, and we don't have a list of things like some other states do. We're in the middle, but there are some specific things about strengthening background checks, safe storage laws, creating a mechanism like extreme risk protection orders. So if there is proof that someone is in crisis, if there's proof that someone is at risk of harming themselves or others, their weapons can be temporarily removed until such time that there's proof that that crisis has passed. Other states have these things. We don't.
And so you also, as you mentioned, you have a PhD in social science. And so when we look at the numbers across the board in the U.S., and especially, particularly for our audience here in the state of Michigan, what sort of support is there for the different policies, for this potential legislation that can go through at the state level and certainly even at the federal level for quote-unquote gun control laws or common sense gun safety laws or whatever you want to call them? Is there widespread support for that?
For certain things, right? So for example, and of course we rely on public opinion polling, but if you look at public opinion polling, there's supermajorities in favor of strengthening background checks. I just saw a poll the other day. 2/3 of Americans would support banning military-style weapons. Strong majorities support safe storage laws, and majorities support extreme risk protection laws. The difficulties that we face in our political system is that we don't have the kind of democracy where what the public wants will necessarily be reflected in the policies that we have, because we have many profoundly undemocratic features in our system that permit active blocking of proposals. The fact that up until this year, our legislature, like many others, could be gerrymandered by one party to ensure that they maintain majority control. We have a system that lets people become president when they don't get the majority of votes in the country. We have a system where we have a Senate that has a filibuster rule, so you need 60 votes to get anything passed, even if you have majority support. We have a Senate in which the state of Wyoming, that has about 600,000 people, has the same representation of the state of California with 32 million people. These are profoundly undemocratic things, which were mechanisms of convenience in the 18th century to get states to agree to become a country. But they are defeating our efforts today to say, let's get the policies that the public supports.
We're joined by Dr. Chris Smith, the board chairperson of the Michigan Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information can be found at MichiganCoalitionToPreventGunViolence.org. That's MichiganCoalitionToPreventGunViolence.org for more information as well as resources to learn more about these issues and do begin some of your own research on these so you can form more informed opinions about gun rights, about gun safety, about potential legislation, and upcoming events from the Michigan Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence. And so the NRA always is a factor, National Rifle Association, in these conversations on gun violence, on gun laws, on changing the status quo of policy on guns in the United States. And particularly because they are such a large funder of so many candidates, particularly those who are politically aligned conservative, except when it comes to gun laws, where they tend to be quite liberal. But interestingly enough, despite how much funding they are throwing at these candidates and these agreements they're throwing at these candidates, the NRA's filed for bankruptcy recently. How do they still wield so much power? Despite that being the case, you would think as they're having those financial issues, their power would diminish because you can't fund campaigns, you can't help fund campaigns, which, as you mentioned, another one of those things that's inherently undemocratic is campaign finance, a whole different issue. You would think they can't finance these campaigns, their power would be significantly less.
Well, the NRA, starting back in the 1970s, became a very different organization. They went from an organization in the post-Civil War era that was seeking to help people, enjoy sport shooting and be, better at target shooting and competitions and gun safety. And in the 1970s, they were sort of taken over by a faction that was very committed to a particular vision of the Second Amendment and maximizing gun sales. The NRA is very heavily supported by gun manufacturers who seek to maximize gun sales. I mean, that's how corporations work in the United States. So they've given a lot of money over time, including in recent years. They're experiencing some heat now, of course, because of a lot of evidence of misspending and potential illegal misspending by their leadership on travel and a whole bunch of other things. But one of the things the NRA has done in the past 40 years is they've cultivated intense support from a grassroots segment of the American population that is ready to be highly, highly mobilized at the thought of anything that goes against their wide open view of the Second Amendment. So even if the NRA as an organization diminishes in its ability to run its PACs, they have a very highly developed, loyal group that as individuals will send a lot of money to people related to these things. And don't discount the fact that gun manufacturers can supply funding to other kinds of PACs as well, even if the NRA's capacity is diminished. So it isn't just that they gave a lot of money over time. It is they also cultivated and reinforced a segment of the population to be highly mobilized in support of their views. If you think about people who are one-issue voters, very often it's people aligned with the NRA who are one kind of one-issue voter. The only thing that matters to them is maximizing the availability of guns because the NRA has told them to be very, very afraid that the government is coming to take all your guns. Hey, there's 400 million guns on the loose in the United States. Nobody could take your guns. And that's why we really ought to step back from that ideology and the cultivation of that fear and say, look at the things we can agree on: background checks, safe storage, right, that are not a threat to you at all. And yet the ideological rigidity and intensity that the NRA has successfully cultivated in a minority of the U.S. population still maintains a kind of influence, especially for politicians. who represent areas where that particular segment of the population may be more numerous or more politically influential.
On the other side of the argument, Dr. Smith, there are those that say, well, we can put all these safety measures in place, we can put all these precautions in place legally in terms of obtaining a firearm, but there's still going to be people out there that are going to get their weapons illegally if they can't get them through legal processes. So what do you say to that camp and to that argument, as well as what can we do to then answer that issue? Because it is a very real possibility that we put all these laws in place, we change all these policies. They do play a significant help in addressing this issue, but does not necessarily solve the issue.
I never talk in terms of solutions, not with 400 million guns out there. And there's no reason to talk about the possibility of future problems. We can talk about the inevitability. It's going to happen. No matter what laws you have, we're going to have a problem of gun violence. What we're talking about is reducing risk and harm. So I don't disagree with that sentiment. But on the other hand, I would say murders are inevitable, but we don't say, let's get rid of laws against murder, because there will be some murders anyway. We work to reduce risk and harm and save the lives that we can.
Dr. Smith, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time. More information on the Michigan Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence can be found on the website, Michigan Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence.org. We're going to take a break on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll talk to one of hundreds upon hundreds of artists that you will see in July, on July 21st through July 23rd at the Ann Arbor Art Fair. Coming up next, this is the Michigan Megacast.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there's a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there's a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
But we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
the leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond, or they not responding at all, you don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, we'll find all of our full programs and each individual interview with those that show up live and that we interview every day on demand on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Well, the Ann Arbor Art Fair, we've talked about it so many times. We have many of their artists on. It's happening Thursday, July 21st, Friday, July 22nd, 10 a.m. until 9 p.m., and Saturday, July 23rd, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. Here's some fun facts about it. It's comprised of over 1,000 artists. It'll be taking place over 30 blocks in Ann Arbor. And, of course, you can find a full list of participants on their website, theannarborartfair.com. There's also going to be 3 stages set up there with entertainment throughout the fair. So you're not only going to get to see traditional artists and buy some of their art even too, if you have the means to do so and would like to do so. You'll also have plenty of entertainment, 30 blocks of Ann Arbor, July 21st through July 23rd, the Ann Arbor Art Fair. More information, theannarborartfair.com. Joining us now is one of the artists from the Ann Arbor Art Fair. Anna Bailey joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Anna, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Tyler. It's a pleasure.
A pleasure to have you with us too. So it's really interesting looking at your website, looking at some of your pieces. You do of course wood art, and and your company is known as Bailey Builds. And so a lot of these different pieces are kind of malleable and buildable, and they come together into a full piece, but can also be in their individual pieces within that larger piece, be individual art as well. So tell us about your art journey. What led you to wood art, and specifically the kind of wood art that you're producing at this time?
Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. It's a really funny story, actually. I wanted patio chairs from Home Depot, and I didn't want to pay Home Depot for them. This was like 7 years ago. And so it's like, I'm equipped to make my own. So I started making a lot of furniture. And the furniture that I was making left a lot of scrap wood on the ground. And I thought, I don't want this to go to waste. And so I started to make wood art from the scrap wood from all the furniture that I was building. So like I said, that was about 7 years ago. And I had just quit my job. And I thought, let's try to make this side hustle go. And so I started selling my artwork online and at some art fairs, and it took off. And I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to make art for a living to support my family. And my husband actually was able to quit his job after about 2 years of me making artwork, because it was either like, I need to scale back or I need help. And so now we do this together. Our last name is Bailey. So baileybuilds.com. That's That's where we sell our artwork now. And the specific form of artwork now that I'm making is part of my modern collection that I started about 1.5 years ago as an ode to myself as an artist. I wanted to challenge myself to use the simplest of forms to create beautiful and intricate pieces of wood. So I just use line and circle, and by giving myself those parameters and those boundaries, I've been really able to flourish and create a lot of unique pieces.
So where does the inspiration for those pieces come from? Because you are, like you said, you're using lines and circles, and that's really your basis with the wooden pieces. And so I would think, just as a layman on the outside, not an artist that's an expert in this particular area of art, there's just only so much you can do with lines and circles. So where do these ideas come from?
Yeah, that's so good. You know, what's so great about giving yourself boundaries is that your perspective within those boundaries is infinite. And so I have been able to just really realize that everything that we look around and that we see is really literally formed from the simplest of shapes. And so it's really infinite. So I don't sketch anything out. I create in the moment. And so I have a piece of wood in front of me, and then I have a bunch of strips of wood, and I just go with it. And I kind of let the wood and the design take itself to where it wants to be. I obviously am really also inspired by like Art Deco and certain kinds of architecture, Frank Lloyd Wright, Native American design. So there definitely are inspirations that I draw from.
We're joined by Anna Bailey, wood artist at Bailey Builds, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. She's also going to be one of hundreds and hundreds of artists featured on 30 blocks of Ann Arbor this July 21st, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday, July 22nd, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, July 23rd, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. in Ann Arbor at the Ann Arbor Original Street Art Fair coming up this summer. And so you've said that you don't consider yourself an artist, you consider yourself to be a creative person making art. Where do you draw that difference between considering yourself an artist and considering yourself a creative person that is using that creativity to make art?
Yeah, I just, I think that creativity exhibits itself in so many different ways. And through the course of my life, like before I started creating artwork, I was a musician. So I was writing music and performing around town. And so that was my creative outlet then. And now I've moved into this new creative outlet of creating art. It was honestly a hard thing to do. And I think a lot of artists hit the point where they're like, especially if they haven't had any formal training, where you do call yourself an artist, you kind of feel like you're a poser. But if there's anybody listening, I would really, really encourage you to own it. You know, I am definitely making a living and providing for, you know, many other people through the selling of this artwork. And so just own who you are and who you're meant to be. And if you're creating artwork, call yourself an artist.
We're joined by Anna Bailey, wood artist at Bailey Builds, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. And again, going back to the lines and the circles that you're using as that basis in the wooden pieces that you're creating, there is so much detail with that, because I would imagine too, with manipulating wood into an art piece, you have to be very intricate in your cuts, in the way that you sand, in the way that and in the texture that you use as well, because there are so many different lines and so many different shapes and so many different ways to present those as well. So how long does it take you to create one of these pieces, and just how intricate is that work to get the final pieces like those that are behind you, for those that are watching this on TV or online, to get to that final product with that level of detail?
Yeah, it's such a good question. You know, it's so multifaceted because you have to manipulate the wood to do what you want. And if you guys know wood or have worked with wood, it has a mind of its own. And so you just never know what it's going to do. And so you kind of have to follow its lead. So I've had to learn, and this is an art form I've never seen before. So along with creating the actual artwork, which can take, you know, one of my signature works can take weeks to complete. you know, you also have this whole process up front as to how to manipulate the wood in the first place to get to do what you want it to do on the board. And then there's the process of once it's put together on the board, the finishing process is a lot of steps. What paints are going to adhere to it correctly? What stain is going to do what? How are we going to get it to last forever for our customers? And so it really can take, like, one of the signature works that I make, which is all pieced together, cut together, sanded. I mean, it can really take weeks until it's actually completed. And a lot of that time, it might just be sitting and curing, because you got to let it do its thing and you don't want to push it along.
Anna, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We're out of time, but we'll continue this conversation after we go off the air so we can get a full interview with you up on our website. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast. You can view all of our full episodes and find more information on our website, civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Big thank you to all of our guests who joined us on today's program. Big thank you to our crew as well. And I also want to remind you, you can stick with My Michigan TV throughout the afternoon for more coverage of the Mackinac Policy Conference, as well as our original programming with Larry and Ronnie Live coming up at 1 o'clock. We'll be back on Thursday with a new edition of the Oakland County and Michigan Megacasts.